So in this video, we're going to go over part 2 of the font pair assignment. We're basically going to create another artboard in Illustrator, the one that we were working on, the Illustrator file that we were working on earlier. We're going to add another artboard to that using the Edit Artboards button in the Properties panel. And on the new artboard, you will create 6 custom font pairs using the Text tool. And we're going to use the fonts that are provided within Illustrator to create these custom font pairs. We're going to choose 2 different fonts that complement one another, and they should look good together, obviously. Definitely read the article above for tips and tricks on making successful font pairs. When you're done making your font pairs, outline all fonts by command clicking or right clicking on a Windows on the text boxes and choose Create Outlines. So saving and naming, I'll go over that right now, and I'll do it later in the video as well. But once you've completed the font pair assignment, in Illustrator we will save out the AI file. We'll export out each of the artboards as high-resolution JPEG files in CMYK color mode. So we'll have 3 files total. One will be the native file, the .ai file out of Illustrator, and 2 files will be JPEGs of each artboard in your AI file. We'll go over that later in this video. Here's the examples of naming conventions. So 1 AI file, 2 JPEGs that are named differently. One is for the first artboard that we did the font pair examples on that we found online. And then the second JPEG will be the second artboard that we make, which will be our custom font pairs, which I just named Mary Font Pair.jpg. So obviously swap out your name here. And so yeah, let's get back into Illustrator. And we'll do part 2 of the assignment now that we've gone over the worksheet. So in the Properties panel, let's go to Edit Artboards. And we're going to add an artboard here by clicking on this new artboard plus sign next to artboard 1. And it should make exactly the same size next to the previous artboard. Let's go on the black arrow tool and click off. And then let's do some custom font pairs using the text tool, which is over here, or the type tool. Click on that, and let's just do our first and last name. That tends to work pretty well. And I'm going to make a font pair here after I've read the article in the worksheet and maybe done a little research on my own as to what is a successful font pair. Let's actually go to more options in the character panel so that we can see this better. I'm actually going to make my font pairs bigger altogether. Let's just highlight all the text and let's make them at least, most text, size 24 will probably be good. So I suggest making all your text 24 points. Some will be a little bigger than others. Some will be a little smaller depending on the font face, but about 24 for all of your text will be good. And let's highlight the first line because I'm doing a pair, so I'm going to make this and this my font pair. And they don't necessarily have to have the return in between. We can do a space as well, whatever you prefer. But let's go to more options in the character panel. I have it on Arial Black, which for a bold font that I like. I'm going to make it all caps. That's another way of getting some contrast. Actually, I don't know if I want Arial Black. Maybe I'm going to go with this one. Acer BAT Text Solid. And maybe I'll try... let's try maybe Almond or Air Conditioner. You're not going to have the same fonts as I do, so you're going to have to go through your font list and find what you like. I'm going to make this a little bigger just because I want to. I think it's going to look better a little bigger. It's not amazing, but it's not bad either. So I can actually align my paragraph here. I can also do it over here in the Properties panel. I'm going to center align it so that they are straight up and down the middle. It's not too bad. Maybe make it a little smaller. And I can change the leading here, which is the space between the lines. Might want to tighten it up a little bit. So that's not too bad. And 24 points on the size is okay. It could actually be bigger than that if you want to go bigger. I'm going to Command C, Command V, or Control on a PC or Windows machine. Command C, Command V. And I guess I'll just go ahead and make 6 of these, 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can also hold Option on your keyboard and just drag out copies, but you have to hold Option that whole time, then let up, and then let up on Option to make copies. And then I'm just going to click and drag and then let up to get all of these selected at the same time, and we can actually use that handy dandy alignment panel. Let's see, we're using the black arrow tool. Some reason okay, here's the alignment panel. One of them is kind of stacked on top of the other, so I'll do that. I'm going to click and drag over, get them all selected again. So in the alignment panel, we can go to more options. I'm currently aligning to selection, which will align all my selected items together horizontally through the middle. But if I want to do them to the artboard, I just have to click on this button and then align that way. And then let's do a distribute space. So I did the distribute space, and they definitely are kind of close to the edge, but they technically are good. I think that they are so far apart because the text boxes are a little big on there. Anyway, I would just suggest with this second page to just eyeball the spacing and not use the distribute spacing checkbox in the alignment panel, just because it's just kind of, there's a little bit of a learning curve there that we just don't need to go over right now. So I'm just gonna kind of eyeball mine, and they're gonna change because I'm obviously gonna do custom font pairs in each of these 6 text boxes. But I just want you to definitely align it to the center of the page and align all the text boxes to the center of each other as well, and try and just get it centered on the page somewhat, either, you know, if you can get it vertically centered as well, so that this space and this space are relatively even. Just helps it make it look more clean. So I'm going to go into my second text box with the text tool and highlight the first line, and then come up with a second font pair. I'm going to use kind of a scripty font. I think it was called Almond, and maybe I'll go with kind of a sans serif. I kind of like Baskerville, and I might go with like a bold because the script font is, well, the script font is kind of bold itself. Maybe regular is better. So there's my second font pair. I don't always have to have all caps on, but it does help to add to the contrast. So I'm going to go ahead and do 6 more font pairs. I'm going to pause the video and tell you where I'm at after that. Okay, so I'm pretty much done with my 6 font pairs. I didn't do the last one, but let's just pretend I did. I'm going to tell you a couple things that might help you out with your font pairs when you make them. You know, doing a mixture of caps and lowercase is always a good idea on either word. On this one I actually capitalized Ward and lowercased the Mary. On these ones I did the opposite, like this one is all caps and this is all lowercase. Or not all lowercase, but mostly lowercase. I could do all lowercase as well, just to make it even more extreme on that one. I also put, like, some fonts are, you know, the spacing and the letters can be close together, and you can also experiment with the tracking on your letters. So if we opened a character panel here with the 3 dots to get more options, tracking is this one here. That's basically the space between the letters. So maybe I might want to adjust the tracking here. Maybe I want to make them pretty far apart. Sometimes that looks good to do kind of a spaced out with a tighter font as far as the tracking goes. Another thing that is nice with font pairs is that one is larger and one is smaller. You might want to experiment with that. I've done that a little bit with mine. So this one could actually be a little bit more exaggerated between the different sizes. That does help to create contrast, difference in sizes of fonts, as well as difference in styles of fonts. Bold, thin, playful, serious, uppercase, lowercase, lots of tracking as opposed to a tighter font that has less tracking. So those are all ways of getting contrast in your font pairs and creating successful font pairs. Also, like obviously if you watch or read the article in the project worksheet by clicking on the link, that will also give you some tips and tricks on how to create successful font pairs. But let's just say I've done 6 font pairs. I've tried to create contrast with them, make them look good together, adjust the leading, which is the space between the 2 lines if you're doing a leaded example with a return in it anyway. And I've, adjusted some of the tracking. I've played with all caps. I've played with lowercase. I've played with my actual font faces, doing a complementary but very contrasting font pair. So yeah, basically that's kind of where I'm at with this. Hopefully you will be once you work on your 6 font pairs. But the next step would be to go to the black arrow tool, click on the text box and do a control click on it and go to create outlines. And we want to do this to each of our 6 text boxes. If you're on a Windows machine, you can just right click, but on a Mac it's control click. And when we do this, if we zoom in, then I say do this as a last step, because once we zoom in, you can see now these are anchor point based, which means they're vector, which means I can size these up to whatever size I want and they're never going to get blurry as long as it's a vector file format, which is AI is Adobe Illustrator.ai is vector based, which means it's not pixel based like Photoshop was. It's anchor point or vector based imagery. And it's great for logos, and that's why we're making our logo in here. But anyway, so now you can see that the text is outlined and that it is anchor based or vector based now. And we're going to save this now to save that change. And now we're going to export out our JPEG files. So we have our one maryfontpairassignment.ai file, but now we need to create JPEGs of each artboard that we will export out separately. So we need to do a file export as. We're going to go into that font pair assignment. We're going to go to JPEG. We're going to check use artboards, and we want to make a range of 1. So we're actually doing an artboard range 1. So this is page 1 or artboard 1 as a JPEG. Actually, let's do Mary Font Pair Examples. So name this first JPEG Mary Font Pair Examples because it's the example artboard that we did our examples pulled from the web on. So we're going to export that. Now this is an important area. Make sure this is on CMYK, and we want to put the resolution on 300 ppi. Everything else should look like this, and then push OK. So that will give us a JPEG. File, export as. Use artboard, we're going to leave it on JPEG. We're going to do range of 2. Now we're going to do the second artboard, and we need to rename this. We're going to name it Mary Font Pairs. So that will be our custom font pairs with the outlined fonts, range 2 artboard. Export that, CMYK, high resolution, everything else should look like this, push OK. Okay, so in Brightspace, if we take a look, or actually, no, not Brightspace, on the font pairing worksheet, we definitely want to have 3 files total. This is what they should look like. So the AI, the 2 JPEG files. And so submit those in Brightspace for a grade. And yeah, you should be done with the font pair assignment now.